What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Outside the Box. This week's show is going to be so much fun. It is so cool. This is actually just an intro to it. Dr. Rogers is interviewing Dr. Andy Clark, who is a nutritionist and biochemist that was on the team that developed DigestShield. DigestShield, of course, Dr. Rogers is a brand ambassador for now. And what they do is they talk about just the making of DigestShield. They get into the science of it and why it works the way it does. Dr. Andy Clark, again, being on the development team, knows better than anybody. So I'm really excited for you guys to get to check this out. So without further ado, here's Dr. Tom Rogers with Dr. Andy Clark talking about the making of DigestShield. Hope you guys get a lot of value out of this.
Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine from our Johnson City office today with a special guest. Actually, I could almost call him my new best friend, Dr. Andy Clark. I just met him. I've heard a lot about him because he is one of the inventors of one of my favorite supplements, DigestShield. As you know, if you follow my podcast or you're my patient, you know I'll probably have you on DigestShield. I'm on it. My family takes it. I'd say behind vitamin D, it's my number 2 supplement that I recommend for my patients and everybody. Now I'm kind of a spokesman for DigestShield, and so I'm honored to have Dr. Andy Clark, who is a biochemist with a nutritional focus. Tell me a little bit about your educational experience,
Sure.
Steve. Andy.
Sure. I started my career at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado, and was pre-veterinary medicine and animal science. And so I wanted to be a vet. And I worked with nutrition, predominantly ruminant nutrition, animals that chew their cud, and worked with a great professor there, Dr. Jerry Ward. And as I started doing more nutrition work, I decided that perhaps I wanted to get a little bit more education into that. So after I graduated from Colorado State, he suggested that I go to University of Delaware, pick up a master's degree in agricultural biochemistry and animal science. And so I went to UD and spent 2 years there, and I got really deep into nutritional biochemistry at the molecular level. So I was testing, my thesis was the dethylmethylation of methionine hydroxyanalog, which I know is a snoozer. But we used radioisotopes in order to follow what happened to the degradation in a cow or sheep or goat's stomach. And from there, I got accepted at North Carolina State University, where I got my PhD in nutrition. And my nutrition degree was interdisciplinary nutrition. So I did pigs and dogs and chickens and rats and anything from a monogastric to a polygastric animal, and had to learn all those different species and what happens with them and how they are unique in their nutrition. So after that, I wanted to be a college professor, and I said, okay, I'm going to apply for jobs, and I got a job at South Dakota State University, home of the Fighting Jackrabbits, and I joined their dairy science department and was there for 3 years, and I liked it. I liked what I was doing. I liked what I was teaching. I got a call from a recruiter from Eastman Kodak Company, and he said, we'd like you to come to Kodak and work in our research laboratory. I said, well, why should I come see you? And he said, what are you making? I told him. He said, well, we'll double it. And I said, when do you want me to come out for an interview? So ended up in Rochester, New York, was there for a year, and then they transferred me to Kingsport, Tennessee. I was with Eastman for 18 years, and then left Eastman and worked for a couple of years for a small company called Yasu Health, and then joined ETSU. I'm currently a professor of clinical nutrition, a registered dietitian, and I'm Associate Dean of Research for the College of Clinical and Rehabilitative Health Sciences.
Can you tell he's a pretty smart guy? I mean, he's throwing around words that I don't even know what they mean. But one of the reasons I love this product, DigestShield, is because it was developed right here at East Tennessee State University School of Pharmacy and Medicine. It's a collaboration, I understand. Several people involved, but it sounds like you were one of the main persons that was involved in this product. It sure sounds like you have the background for it. So I'm really happy to have you here. We've talked a lot about how it works, and I know you take it. I know your wife's a diabetic, as two of my kids are, and it seems to help them a lot. I know for me, I have a dairy problem and I have a gluten problem, which I'm convinced probably half of Americans do. And I know when I take this product, which I do every day, I could even go drink a milkshake if I wanted to, or eat pizza with glutens in it, and I do fine. I try to eat a good diet. Most of my practice is really involved with nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with your experience with gut health, when somebody comes to me with an autoimmune disease or they feel tired or their joints hurt, I always ask them about their gut. I think I've put 3 people on this product this morning. It's lunchtime. And they all had autoimmune diseases. And when I ask them about their guts, yeah, I've got a terrible gut. I'm bloated, I'm gassy, I'm constipated. And immediately, you need this product. When you study guts, it's interesting that you started out with ruminant animals. Did that lead to a lot of discoveries about human beings as far as relating that and how you developed this product?
Well, I think all the species, kind of combine to help you understand what's going on. So having that polygastric thing, you do a lot of fermentation work because the ruminant have 3 compartments before a stomach like our stomach in humans. And so they have bacteria that are in there, and those bacteria are fermenting fibrous materials that we as humans can't eat. It'd be great if we could eat cellulose. We could just go out and browse on a tree for lunch instead of going to Burger King or wherever else you go to. But for humans, we do fermentation in the lower gut, and that's done by bacteria. And we're finding out a lot in nutrition right now that your health is really, really tied to the gut. There's a signal between your colon and your hypothalamus in your brain, called the gut-brain axis, which is being signaled by these little short-chain acids that are the result of fermentation. Acetate, propionate, butyrate. They're little 2, 3, 4, up to 7 carbons long. And they go to that receptor in the gut, and then that gut talks to the brain, and the brain says, you're full, or the brain says, I need to consume more food, or it tells the body that we're having some problems here in the gut. And so when you get a good fermentation going on, you get good acid production, and that good acid production in the colon helps tighten up those junctions. And one of the precursors to health, to poor health, is where those junctions leak, and we get what we call a leaky gut, where bacteria are able to move into the bloodstream, and that causes inflammation. And so if we can tighten the junctions, which we can do through diet and through manipulation of the bacteria and what they eat in the colon, then we should be able to tighten up those junctions and reduce the inflammation and have better health.
All disease starts with inflammation, is the way I teach it to my patients, but I couldn't have given a better description of how those gut bacteria work. The gut bacteria actually tell your brain what to do.
That's right.
And you have more, I've always told this, but you have by far more gut bacterial DNA in your body than you do your own DNA. So it's all these microorganisms that's telling our bodies what to do. Is that right?
That's right. We do a lot of, we've started a lot of microbiome research in my laboratory out at Valley Brook. Actually, it's the old Eastman Research Facility out on Eastern Star Road, and I have 2 labs out there. And in our one lab, we do microbiome work. We currently have an experiment underway with individuals with HIV/AIDS versus non-infected controls. We have one with children of varying body weight versus those with a more normal body weight. That's with toddlers. And we're running one with a medical school with Dr. Schweitzer on neonates, so those under 1 year of age who have failure to thrive. And all those, we're collecting bacteria from the gut, isolating the DNA, and then that DNA tells us what type of bacteria are there and what abundance they're in.
Right here in East Tennessee, you're doing all that kind of fantastic research. It just amazes me that how much we've learned in the last few years about how much your gut really controls your health. For example, a few years ago, we thought that acid caused most ulcers. And there were these researchers, I think they're in Australia maybe, but they had this theory that it wasn't acid that was causing ulcers in your stomach. It was actually a bacteria. And they were laughed at actually by the GI societies. I think they were even kicked out of the society, and yet they later got the Nobel Prize because they discovered H. pylori, which is the bacteria that causes almost all ulcers in your stomach. So I think this is kind of revolutionary things that we're talking about when we talk about the gut microbiome and how you need to balance that, or you're not going to do well with your disease processes. The thing I like about DigestShield is there's 11 different types of probiotics in there. And I've looked at every one. I'm sure you researched this whole thing and came up with them, but it seems like to me they're just the right blend, because you can overdo probiotics as well. I've done that myself. It has 5 or 6 different prebiotics in there. It has a digestive enzymes to help you break down mostly the fats, but also proteins and carbohydrates. Then it has a dairy blocker, a lectin blocker, a gluten blocker. I mean, it's all in one pill. How did you guys come up with all this in one pill?
Well, we started playing around with it, and we looked at individual ingredients and how do you tie them together. So for the gluten, we wanted to have a decoy. And if we could put a decoy in there, then the gluten would bind the problem of the gluten causing the inflammation in the gut would bind to the decoy rather than binding to the gut wall. So if we could do that, then maybe you could take care of that area. For the dairy and some of the others, we wanted to be able to digest foods better so that we're able to snip them down to their individual components, which would get them better absorbed. Proteins are made out of amino acids. If you can snip those proteins down to a di or tripeptide, 2 to 3 amino acids or single amino acids, they're absorbed through the gut wall. For fats, we have to get them broken down to small. They can't be a triglyceride to go through the wall. We have to have, a monoglyceride and 2 fatty acids to go through the wall, and it has to be solubilized by bile from your gallbladder, made in your liver, squirted into the gut to emulsify, like Dawn detergent does. When you see you've got some fat on the top of your dishwashing solution, you put some Dawn detergent in there, it goes away. Well, you've just formed micelles, and you've solubilized that fat. You've taken it from where it floats on the surface of water, where it becomes water soluble, and that allows that fat to be absorbed. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to break it down into those components that can be easily digested. So we put proteases in there to break down proteins. We have probiotics, which are going to populate the colon. And then we have to give the probiotics something to eat, and those are prebiotics. And so those prebiotics are things like fructooligosaccharides, or they're galactooligosaccharides, or they're non-digestible sugars that are in several they're polymeric, they're several units long. They can't be absorbed in the gut, but the bacteria like them. And as the bacteria eat them, it grows that class of bacteria, and then it populates your gut with better bacteria.
Wow. This guy is on a different level than I am. He's way up here, and hopefully I can digest some of this stuff myself and bring it to my patients. I think my job as a functional integrative medical doctor is to translate the hard and try to make it simple and give the patients an idea of what they need to be doing, eating. But supplements, I've always told people that your supplements are probably at the base of your food diagram that we make in our offices every day, that almost that food pyramid is almost reversed to what we used to think it is. So at the very bottom or core of it, to me, is supplements. And DigestShield is certainly one of those that I push a lot on my patients, because if I can't heal that leaky gut that you talk about, which causes inflammation, then I'm not really going to help that patient as much as I could. And certainly we talk about nutrition and certain types of foods that you eat and all. But so this has been a great discussion. We're going to do more of these. One reason I like Andy is because he's not only obviously a very smart guy, he's also a guitarist. As you know, my passion is guitar playing. Now, I'm more of a aficionado with guitars. I love guitars. I can't play guitar as well as you can. But Andy also does worship leading. He's a guitarist for many years. So I brought by this guitar today for him to look at it. Does anybody recognize that? Yeah, that's the Gretsch White Falcon.
Beautiful
which
guitar.
I love. It's actually a Stephen Stills model. So I love that. Andy was playing this guitar for me before we started this, and he actually has his own song called the Peter Denial Blues.
Peter Denial Blues, that's right.
He came up with the lyrics and the music for it and everything. I think I could play that.
You could play
You know, as far as the rhythm on that looks pretty,
It's
I think
pretty
I could
easy.
play that one.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot of lead guitar that you probably play as well.
I don't play lead. I'm a rhythm guy. We in our band, the bass player, the drummer, and rhythm guitar, we laid down the groove, and then we let those other guys go crazy. The keyboards and the lead guitar, they can do whatever they want, and the singers, but we just laid it down.
It's all about laying down the groove, the rhythm,
is.
the beat, isn't it?
That's right. That's the most important thing.
I think that's what I'm kind of lacking on.
Well,
If you talk to my wife, it's definitely what I'm lacking on, is the beat, the rhythm part. But I'm trying to get that down with my metronome.
Well,
I
you
am
can do
now
that.
practicing
Yeah.
with the metronome.
Our drummer played with a metronome in his ear, and so he was always on.
The drummer sets the beat, don't they?
Supposed to. Some drummers, the joke is, how can you tell if a drummer's at your back door? The knocking gets faster.
I like that. That's pretty cool. Well, listen, Andy, it's so much of an honor to have you here today. It's great to get to know you for a friend, number one, but also your expertise on this product that we recommend highly, which is DigestShield. And we'll have you back, and we'll talk a lot more about music, about guitars, about your life, and also other products that you're in development right now. I'm excited about some of your new stuff too.
Right, we have some products in development, and also maybe we can talk about, as a dietitian and nutritionist, what I recommend other people take for supplements. Because when you get over 50, you have to kind of tune up the system a little bit. DigestShield is a great product to start with, but there's others out there that I think people over 50 should consider taking.
I love that. You're 67, 60.
I'll be 68 in December.
He's 67, I'm 66, so we're from the same generation.
That's right.
But we'll have you back, and I look forward to learning a lot from you and translating it to my patients.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me.
Andy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Andy Clark. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.